Hello and welcome back. This is Queen3210 and I have a bit of a story for you guys. First off, I'd like to apologize for taking so long in updating the Final Fantasy VIII Randomizer playthrough. It's been almost a year since my last update. I don't really have a good excuse for why it's taken so long to get back to this, just that while I was recording footage for the next episode, I kinda got interrupted and lost the groove for that day. Just sending off a message because someone keeps trying to reach out to me. That's what that intercom is. I will be right back, actually. Equally as unfortunate, I accidentally saved over the start of what would have been episode 4 starting point, which means I couldn't even redo that section if I wanted to, which again contributed to my losing the groove for that day. And even more unfortunate than that, when I recently went to salvage that episode and see if I could maybe progress it further, I discovered that somehow Maelstrom had been uninstalled from my computer. My guess is it had to do with some kind of update, and since I hadn't used Maelstrom in a while, the computer assumed I no longer needed it or something like that. I don't know. Either way, I was able to reinstall the program, except the version I downloaded is actually the newer version to the one that I had been using before. And because it's the newer version, it has more features available to it that the original version did not. And because the original seed I was using was lost, it means everything from, if I were to start up from where I'd left off, everything would end up different. All of this is to say that the original playthrough of the 3 episodes is kind of dead. Which is a shame, as the 4th episode had some predicaments that I would have loved to show you guys. Give me what you have. Or, shrivel up and die, whichever. Well, fuck my life. I guess that means we don't need fucking tool refine, do we? Oh my god. Oh my god. I can actually have Dark Shockwave Pulsar in Disc 1. Yeah, see? They're all grayed out. I can't even use it. That's so sad. That's so sad, game. Why would you do this to me? But that's not to say that the whole series is dead in the water. What this means is that we'll have to start over from scratch, but that's actually why we're at this title screen right now. Basically, we're going to set up the Maelstrom program to create a new seed, select all of the things that we're going to include in this playthrough, and then jump right into the game. So, to start with, it seems the shop options will stock a random assortment of 16 items, but 5 of them will only be accessible through the familiar ability. Now, as you can see, I've already ticked off all the boxes that we're going to be using, which includes the key items, the summon items, the magazines, and the pocket station items, like Mog's armlet, for example. The random junk shop seems to have kept the same idea, which is basically the weapon upgrades will require random amounts of items and money, the cost being a maximum of 2,500 and 20 of each item used to craft it. Fortunately for us, key items, summon items, and all of that are exempt from this, so we don't actually have to pony up, say, any ribbons in order to craft Irvine's Executor, for example. And from what we learned from the previous playthrough, the haggle ability will cut the cost down even more. The gil cost, not the item requirements for crafting the damn things. And it's only 37. It's only 37 gil. For real, game. You're gonna give me Selphie's ultimate weapon, which shoots her hit up all the way to 255%, by the way, for 37 fucking gil. The Save the Queen only requires 1 whisper. And you know what this tells me? This tells me the whisper is going to be an absolute bitch to get. And on top of that, we need a whisper for one of Quistis's amazing limit breaks, Mighty Guard. Moving on, we can also set up the draw points throughout the game to provide random spells, just like we did before. But let's take a look at what this... Oh my. Oh wow. We will take it. But we can also set it up to so that we can draw like selfie slot spells, cut spells that were from the game, for example, like percentage, catastrophe, and even apocalypse. Now we're at this point, we're also going to ignore the free roam, the pre-alpha version, simply because it nixes the story, gives us 2 characters to play with, as well as 2 GFs in all locations unlocked, and it's just basically going around killing final bosses and whatnot in order to unseal the final dungeon and win the game that way. It's very incomplete. In fact, you can take the train out to Galbadia, but you'll get stuck afterwards. So there's really no point to play this. One of the changes that was made between the Maelstrom versions is that we can actually now rebalance and properly scale enemy stats to fit where they appear in the story. So, for instance, we won't have a repeat of what happened in the Fire Cavern. So we have to kill Cypher first. I might have to de-end him if he doesn't just die. If he doesn't die within a minute, I'm just gonna have to de-end it all. Because that just tells me that I won't be able to defeat him as quickly as I would normally. Oh, he does not like Quistis. Okay, and Cypher is down. Yes, he is. In addition, we can actually restrict where certain bosses may appear. And by that I mean the final boss of the game, as well as the optional final boss, Omega Weapon. And we can choose between normal locations, so for example, Omega Weapon inside Ultimecia's castle, anytime after Disc 1, so up until Disc 1, they won't appear. After Disc 1, it's fair game, or we can just stick with anywhere. Feeling a little adventurous, so that's what we're going to do. Random drops are basically the same as they were before. They allow us to pick up key items, summon items, magazines, and pocket station items. And the same goes for steal and random drops as well. Now, we could potentially set up the fair play rule, which basically allows enemy combatants to use randomized spells against us in battle. Now, imagine a T-Rexer casting the N on the party. That would just be another reason to be utterly afraid of finding one so early in the game. So, as a result, we're actually going to... we're actually just going to leave that. Now, the GF's page has changed a little bit. In addition to guaranteeing the basic abilities and allowing exclusives, we can also choose to swap sets around amongst the other GFs. We can also make it so that GFs receive their own unique abilities, but that doesn't actually guarantee that we will see all of the available abilities in the game. So it's kind of a toss-up with no real benefit, so we're just going to leave it. There's also interesting addition regarding Doom Train. Now, remember how we were wondering if the ingredients for activating the Solomon Ring were different? Well, with this menu, we can outright guarantee that they will be different. So instead of the steel pipes, remedy pluses, and the Malboro tentacles required on a normal run, it could be something ridiculously stupid or ridiculously rare. Either way, who knows? I don't, because guess what? We've got it ticked, and we're going to run this. Now, next up is the random cards. It's pretty much the same as it was previously. We can either pick up cards that would normally drop, or we can randomize where in the world they will appear. Now, I had said I wanted to try out the Triple Triad game in the 4th episode, and while I played a few matches against certain people, I noticed that the cards that I did win weren't actually staying in my menu. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with the randomized rare cards this time and hope that we'll still be able to play this game without losing or rage quitting hard, and we'll actually be able to keep the cards that end up dropping. And finally, the part that everybody has been waiting for, the random music section, which, if I'm being perfectly honest, was one of the highlights of the last playthrough. Dun, 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 dun. Oh my god! However, it also included a bit where you can choose to include non-magical tracks, like ambient sounds or the creepy chanting we experienced during certain scenes. Oh wow. That was a little creepy. And foreshadowing, considering that Sid Kramer is Edia's knight. Oh, it's happening again. Get me out of this fucking scene. Now, we're actually going to keep the non-music tracks off for obvious reasons, but we'll also have to keep in mind that for technical reasons, the correct music will always play in certain areas, like, for example, the world map, the card game, Shumi Hotel, Julia's performance, FH concert, and the Ragnarok romance scene. Those will all remain the same regardless of whether we have the random music selected or not. An interesting addition that they've also done for this version is a get out of jail card, which this means is we get to start off with one the end spell in our inventory slot. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, it's interesting, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and leave this box unmarked, simply because we'll encounter the spell at some point. So I don't really see the point of having one in our back pocket, at least especially right now. With the configuration, we've got the character names. We can enter the names here, and they'll be pre-filled on the name entry screen of the game. I'm not a fan of using, like, funny, dorky names or whatever, so we're keeping everybody's names the same. There is a spoiler file. It allows us to keep a file that logs all the changes to the game, so in case we get stuck, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. So this is our setup. This is what we're going to do. We just have to save the current settings. We'll use the seed, and yep, that's it. I'll see you in the game.